It's finally time. You've decided to start your consulting business. Congratulations. Maybe you're still on the fence, or maybe you just lost your job. Whatever your situation is, now is the best time for you to start your consulting business. And on today's video, I'm going to share with you the top reasons why you want to start a consulting business today. My name is Miles from Money Sense Media. I own 2 consulting companies, real estate investments, and I'm a digital marketer. It's interesting to see how many people are finally realizing that starting a consulting business is the way to go. Now, I want to be clear, however, consulting is not all fun and pleasure. It's not about driving some fancy cars or going on expensive trips or creating these phenomenal PowerPoint decks that just repeat the same information over and over again. On separate videos, I'll talk to you about some of the pitfalls about consulting and some of the things that you want to be mindful of. But today, we're talking about why you and I need to start a consulting company right away. Number 1, low barriers to entry. It's really easy to start consulting. All you need is internet access and a laptop and maybe a phone. 3 things in order to make sure that you have your bases covered. When you're providing consulting services, you're providing expert advice on a specific topic. And in order to do that, really what you need to do is you need to be able to communicate with your client. So when you have those 3 things, you're good to go. Your call to action here is quite simple. I want you to think of what type of skill sets you would be offering or what kind of services you would be offering. And I want you to simply create a LinkedIn profile advertising those services. Use your own picture and your name if that's applicable and if that you're okay and comfortable doing that. Or don't put all those details, just put a name of a company and the services that the company offers. And that could be company ABC, and that'll be your company that you're running that sells the services that you're providing. The second reason you want to start a consulting business is because you have high profit margins. Now again, profit margins are simply the net outcome of your income minus your expenses. And because you've just started in consulting, your margins should be theoretically healthy. When I started consulting a few years ago, my only expense was really some business insurance that I decided to put in my corporation just to be sure that I was covered on all bases. And the yearly cost for that was a bit over $1,000, which was quite manageable. So the truth of the matter is, once you're able to start generating income, your profit margin should be fairly healthy because there's no other overhead or no other expenses that you have in order to run your business. Now that is quite unique in management consulting. If you had a brick and mortar store, it would be completely different. You'd have headcounts, you'd have staff that you'd have to pay for, you'd have to pay rent, and so on and so forth. But again, in this particular situation, the second reason I really like management consulting is because for the most part, you're able to control your profit margins and they tend to be fairly healthy. The third reason you want to start consulting is because it really offers you a good work balance and a lot of flexibility. What I mean by that is that in most instances, consultants never work on site unless they're really called to do so. I only go to the office to meet with my clients when I have an interview that I'm doing or when I'm running a workshop. But if not, the most of my work is done remote. I'm on Teams, I'm on Zoom, I'm on phone call. I use a lot of video messaging, obviously, and video applications to stay connected with my clients, but it's mostly remote. My clients are not interested in paying for me to go to their offices and also take up space for their employees. They want me to come in only when it's needed and deliver as much value as I can. So because of that, I get to stay home to have lunch with my wife because she also works from home. We go for walks, and I'm here when my kids come back from school, which means a lot to me. So your call to action here is quite simple. I want you to think of the flexibility that consulting could give you. What are the things that you would like to have back in terms of time and what you would want to use that time for? Is work-life balance something that's important for you? And really, more importantly, what does that mean for you? I want you to write that down and have a clear idea of what that would look like for you. The fourth reason you want to start consulting is because it leverages your skills and your expertise. You've been working this job for so many years. Why not leverage it and use it for multiple clients rather than one client? Consulting allows you to do that. It allows you to use that same expertise you have and help multiple clients actually do that. That in itself is extremely powerful. The beauty about this is that you don't need to learn something new to get started. You already know it. All the other stuff that might be necessary to run your business is something that you can outsource or that you could really learn yourself if you're really passionate about it. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to identify the skills that you already master. Not something that you need to go and learn, something that you're doing today that maybe you've been doing for 5 years, for 10 years, for 15 years. I want you to write that skill down and I want you to stay close to it because in the next few steps, I'll tell you exactly what to do with it. The fifth reason you want to start consulting is because it actually gives you a lot of control over your income. I know a lot of consultants that work 10 months out of the year, 9 months out of the year, and they take the rest of the time off. They travel, they spend the time with the kids, they spend the entire summer with their kids, and so on and so forth. So there are not a lot of jobs that allow you to do that. The only other profession I know that gives you that kind of flexibility are school teachers, but one would argue that school teachers work a lot harder and are paid a lot less in a lot of ways than consultants. And so from that perspective, consulting really gives you the advantage of having a lot more control over your income and giving you more time at the end of the day. So your call to action here is I want you to research the rate for the expertise that you would be offering. And this is very important because when we're talking about control over your income, it's all connected to the rate. If you're charging $1 to your client for your services, but the industry rate is $100, you're leaving money on the table. And if you want to charge $1, but people are actually paying 10 cents for the types of services that you're offering, then you're overcharging and you need to look at your budget to make sure that it actually works. So now that you've looked at the skill set and the expertise that you're bringing, I want you to now to do a bit of market research to see how much people that are selling this service, how much are they paying for? Because you'll need that information in order to build your baseline of fees for the services that you're going to offer. As a consultant, you become your own brand ambassador. This gives you opportunity to build credibility and authority on the areas of expertise that you have. And this is really, really exciting. You're representing yourself. So here's your call to action. I want you to start building content that showcases your expertise. Maybe it's a short vlog, maybe it's something on YouTube, maybe it's a short post on LinkedIn. Whatever it is, I want you to start taking control of your narrative. And I want you to start creating that story that talks about where you come from and what expertise and what value you're bringing to the world. That's going to be the first step in a critical step in building your confidence to go to the next step about building your consulting business. The seventh reason you absolutely want to go into consulting is because you have very little cost. We talked about minimal overhead. You don't need a car, you don't need rent, you don't need office space, you don't even need to have a bookkeeper or an accountant. Now, my personal situation and my personal counsel is that you absolutely want to get a bookkeeper and an accountant. It's really important to have people that have their own expertise take care of your books so that you could do what you're good at, which is creating content or helping clients solve difficult business problems. That's what I do as a management consultant. I want to focus all of my time and all of my attention on that, and I outsource the bookkeeping and the accounting. That's a good investment. But the truth of the matter is that's not very expensive, and you keep your overall expenses very low. So think about this for a moment. As inflation increases your cost, the cost that you're charging to your clients should increase as well in step over time, but you're able to control your cost to some degree, which essentially means that you're able to fatten your operating margins or your profit margin, which goes back to the second or third bullet point we were talking about. So that control over your overhead is actually super, super important, and another added benefit of owning your own management consulting company. The other reason you absolutely want to consider consulting is because it gives you opportunities for passive income. Now, this might be a little counterintuitive because you and I might think that in order to generate income, you absolutely have to go to the office, actually do the work yourself, and so on and so forth. But as a consultant, there are a number of ways that you can generate income. You can write a book. You could, start a YouTube channel. You could build a course. You could offer coaching and mentoring. These are all ways that you can actually build your brand and also generate passive income with digital products and other things like that. And so you absolutely want to open your horizons and open your mind to other ways of generating income as a consultant. It doesn't only have to be fingers on keyboards, going to the client office, or meeting with clients face to face. You can also leverage tools, digital products, and other things in order to build your brand and generate other avenues of income. Number 9, scalability. You can absolutely scale your consulting business. I know a number of people that took their mom and pop consulting organizations and that turned around, built into something bigger, and then sold it. And so doing that takes time, obviously, and a bit of a strategy, but it's absolutely doable. And it puts you in a position where you're able to scale your business and operate your business as a solopreneur with a team. And so in consulting, the motto is money is in the scalability. Now, you don't always have to scale. You scale if you want to. I know a lot of consultants that just like to work alone. They don't like to work with teams or anything like that. So they simply want to do their thing, go back home, and Bob's your uncle. But if you like working with teams, if you like working with your own team and building your own teams, scaling a consulting business can be very invigorating. It can also be very lucrative if you do it well. It can have very beneficial long-term impacts if you do it right. At number 10, we have a diverse client base. This is one of the unspoken secrets about consulting. As a consultant, I've worked with small mom and pop shops, and I've also worked with 6,000, 100,000 employee organizations, crown corporations, public sector organizations solving big crises and big business challenges. That's really cool. That's a lot of diversity and variety. You typically don't get that if you're only working a 9 to 5, unless you're working for a consulting company. And so that diversity does a couple of things. Number one, it builds your resilience as a consultant because you're constantly exposed to an industry that you have to learn about. Number two, it actually increases your value on the marketplace because you're flexible, you're agile, you can adapt to various situations, and you have broad-based expertise that clients will want to pay for. Now, with that being said, I'm also a big believer that niching down is also extremely important. You don't want to be in all the industries, in all the sectors at all times. However, there is value in having some expertise horizontally in various industries because it shows your flexibility and it allows you to pivot. If there's an industry that doesn't do well, you can pivot into the private sector or the public sector or for the not-for-profit and so on and so forth. And this ties well with the last reason I think you should start your consulting business today: personal and professional growth. There is no better way for you to grow personally and professionally than you starting a consulting business. It may sound scary, but trust me, once you get that small first contract and you have no choice but to keep looking for that contract and for the next contract, you will experience growth like you've never experienced before. My call to action here is do your research, put a comment in the chat indicating what industry you're interested, or simply ask a question and I'll answer gladly. Thank you for watching this content. Share the video with a friend and I'll catch you on the next one.